Well guys, here I have the Olight R50vn. This light is a bit unique compared to most of my other offerings because it takes the larger 26650 cell as opposed to the smaller 18650 cell. A little bit bigger, actually a lot bigger in terms of size, approximately twice the size and twice the weight, alright? But not twice the capacity, unfortunately. In my opinion, there just hasn't been a lot of development with the larger 2650 cell. But it's nice to have more lights that comes in this battery, so hopefully companies such as Samsung, Sony, Sanyo, or LG would put more research into the development into the 26650 cell. So it's very welcoming to see more lights on the market that takes this larger cell. The biggest capacity 26650 I know of would be the Keep Power 5200 milliamp hours. The one we have here is ultra high drain. However, it's only 4500 milliamp hours. So that's not substantially more than a high drain 18650. A really good high drain 18650 is probably about 3000 milliamp hours. The LG 3500 milliamp hours here is not ultra high drain, it's about 10 amp, which is great for most of my lights, but it's not the highest drain. And it puts out 3500, it's a 3500 milliamp hour cell, 4500 milliamp hour cell. Not a huge difference, great difference in size, although this one is much higher drain. So, like I said, it is very, very welcoming to see more lights in this battery size. And this one is an exceptional one. I like it a lot. I think it's possibly one of my most recent must-have, because if you go on my store and you look at the title at the top, if you see a little R next to it, it stands for recommended. And recommended means that it's a light that I think is a must-have, and I highly stand behind that light because it's a well-rounded light, at least in my opinion. And I haven't not released any light that has the little R next to it. So this one is going to be one of them. I think it's that good. Let's see what's all in the box, and then we'll compare it to a couple of its competitors and kind of demonstrate why I think it's superior. Here we have the light itself. It comes in a very nice, sturdy case. More presentable than most box. Very nice foamly padded. Comes. Yep, there's nothing else. It's kind of a fancy box for what it is, alright? Okay, so in this accessory box here we have a 2.1 amp power supply with a USB port at the back, a micro USB wire. At 2.1 amp, you can charge a lot of your other mobile devices as well. Okay, this is a decently nice, fluffy lanyard. Okay, so it's a good light, but let's talk about the things I don't like first. Get that out of the way. This is not the original cell with it. I put it in here to demonstrate that it can take any 26650 cell. Here is the proprietary battery. Here's a normal battery. You can see here there's no circuit in this battery. It's just an unprotected high drain. Here you have a battery with a unique circuit in the back here. And this, the difference in the circuit there provides the connectivity that matches with the tail cap here to recharge this proprietary cell. So if you want to use the built-in micro USB rechargeable port that's built into the tail cap, you have to use the original proprietary battery. If you use an aftermarket battery, the recharging system does not work, and I imagine that you do not want to plug anything into here either, okay? But the light will operate fine with any 26650 cell, and I would demonstrate that with a regular cell, not the proprietary battery. I have not tested the output on a regular Keep Power 5200 milliamp hours as opposed to the original battery, but since every light comes with this original battery, my number ratings are going to be based off of the original battery. Okay, that's my only gripe about this light. The kind of, in my opinion, somewhat odd implemented micro charging USB system. If it was somewhere in the neck here where it can charge any 18650, that would be ideal, but it's not. So, okay, now that we're over that, I can talk about all the things that I like about this light. Has a very nice stainless steel bezel, although it is not scallop or striped, so if the light is upside down, you won't really see light that leaks out, and you might potentially leave it on unintended. It has a very nice glow-in-the-dark O-ring below the bezel. That's a nice touch. The reflector is very shallow, so this gives a very wide spill beam, which illuminates your peripheral vision very well. And for the size of the reflector, okay, the depth of the reflector and the width of it, and being orange peeled, it throws very well, especially with a, here in my hand I have this, the XHP70 version. Here I have the XHP50 version. And with the XHP50 version, shaved dome, you get amazing throw. Let's go over the numbers real quick. The XHP70 version, both of these here I have a cool white. I'm just going to quote the cool white version because that's the only versions I've measured so far. The XHP70 dome-on version will be the flood version, puts out about 3,000 lumen and approximately 20 to 25k lux. The XHP50 Shave Dome version puts out 45k lux at about 2600 lumen. So you give up a little bit of lumen compared to the XHP70, but approximately twice the intensity. And it would also be my recommended choice because I think it's going to be at least $30 cheaper for the XHP50 Shave Dome version. And you get almost the same output anyway, and you get a lot more throw. And I'm a thrower guy, so I have to recommend the throw version, especially when there's a price advantage. But, however, the XHP70 version will come with a bunch of different LED options that you can pick from. You'll have XHP70 in high CRI around 3700 Kelvin, and you also have 4000 Kelvin, 5000 Kelvin, and obviously the 6500 Kelvin cool white dome-on that I have here that I just quoted the numbers on. I do not intend to shave the dome on the XHP70 because I feel that will drop their output and not bump the throw up too much. So if you really want it, I know someone is going to want their XHP70 dome shaved for the extra throw. If you want it, put it in the checkout note and I'll do it for you, free of charge. However, I think that for the flood purpose of the nature flood purpose of the light with a very small shallow reflector and a very large LED, it's just best to keep the dome on and maximize the output. With an with a factory dome on XHP50 LED from the factory, I measured without any boost or anything, just a factory light. I measured 2300 lumen, and with a boost, I measured 2800 lumen. So that is a 500 lumen difference from the boosted version to the factory version. The boosted version does get very hot very fast. That's what you would imagine from a 3000 lumen light in a light this small. So it gets very hot very fast, so you will have to be on top of heat. It will burn paper, it will burn fabric if you leave it running unattended on high or turbo next, right next to the object. I've tested it, so know what you're doing, know what you're buying, and handle it with care. There is one cool thing about this light, though, that will somewhat increase the safety margin during transport to prevent accidental activation. So say you have this light turned on, right? Slightly loosen the tail cap will lock out the light. And I think that's a pretty good feature if you have this light in a backpack for camp or whatever, and you can't accidentally turn on the light. Fully retighten the tail cap and the light will turn on. So that lockout feature is actually safe and welcome in this light. Let's talk about the user interface. This has got to have one of the best user interface. Before I talk about this light user interface, I want to demonstrate the user interface of two of its competitor and why I think they are inferior for my use, for my taste anyway. So one of the first boost circuit 26650 light would be the PD40vn, which has the MTG2. I don't remember exactly, but I think this light puts out 15 to 1700 lumen with an MTG2, and that's not entirely impressive for a light this large. You have, well, at the time, this light is a newer light with the XPL, but at the time you have zebra light this small putting out like 1000 lumen or 1100 lumen, and you have a light that is dramatically larger, doesn't throw all that much more anyway. due to the limited size head and the large LED and OP reflector, and you're only putting out 1700 lumen. That's not very impressive. And it never got all that popular in my opinion because of the user interface. Let me demonstrate. A click doesn't really do anything to the light. A press and hold turns the light on. So I prefer just to click to turn on, but I can see why they would do a press and hold to turn on the light and press and hold to turn off. That somewhat eliminates that prevents the accidental activation in a light. All right, so that's okay. Although I don't like it. Press and hold to turn the light on, and then every single press cycle through the different levels. Right? So that's all right. However, here's the issue. In order to activate turbo, you have to press and hold, and there's a momentary pause. There's a momentary pause from high to turbo before it goes into turbo, and that bugs me quite a bit. Let me demonstrate that one more time. It's like a half a second pause. Press and hold. See? So just that alone bugs me, and this light never really grew on me just for that one reason, and for the heft of it and everything that it comes with. And at the time, 2650 cells were like at 4,000 milliamp hours. I don't remember having the 5200 milliamp hour cell out at the time. So it wasn't a substantial increase in capacity, and for everything that it just wasn't very impressive. It wasn't very impressive to me, and it didn't sell very well with my customers either. When the EC50vn came out, though, that was a 2650 liter. It was a class leader at the time. It puts out 3,000 lumens, so you have approximately similar size light now putting out twice the output. The UI, though, I'm still not entirely fond of. It's good for some applications, but not all applications. So there's two independent switch, an E-switch, side switch, and you have a typical mechanical rear clicky. So you have to rear click the light to activate the light, and then you would use this switch, the side switch, to go through the different levels. So in some ways you kind of have to alternate the way you hold the light each time to utilize the side switch to manipulate the user and the modes. And one other thing that I don't like about the light is the press and hold to turn on, activate turbo. It's very safe in a sense that you have to press and hold for the light to go into turbo. So if the light overheats, you obviously know that it overheats because you're holding the light, and you let it go for it to go out of turbo. And that's a good way to save battery when you're not utilizing turbo all the time, right? You only need it when you have it. But most of my customers are flashaholics, so they want to be able to monitor the heat themselves and be able to have turbo constant on so that you not have to hold it. And I call them flashaholics because when they buy my light, they clearly agree to my operating instruction, where they have to hold the light at its hottest point bare hand and monitor the heat themselves with their hand and throttle down manually with any light, doesn't matter if it has thermal management or not, to tame the heat and to monitor the light and run it safely. If you do not agree to that, don't buy my light. I have it clearly written on the agreement that you read right when you log on to skylumen.com and at checkout. So with that in mind, my customers welcome constant turbo that is activated and not being that you don't have to hold on to. So that single feature turned away a lot of people. It turned away myself included, but more so the user interface where I have to press the rear switch. All right, the rear switch is fine because it recalls the last mode memory. So if you have it on, say you have it on high, and if you just use it in a tactical manner, every time you pull it out, you kind of have high, but you don't really have access to anything else unless you change the way you orient holding the light and then you have to turn the light on first before you can actually select the levels you want. So not the most ideal user interface. However, the output was class leading at the time, 3,000 lumen versus relatively half the lumen and approximately the same size light. So I like that light a lot, okay? If you get used to the user interface, it's not so bad. However, let me now demonstrate the user interface of the R50vn and why I think it's superior to both. Single press to turn on, single press to turn off. Very quick and easy. You have this draw out of your holster, you're on your tour around the night, and you need this light to illuminate something. You click and you have the light on right away. You don't have to press and hold to waste time. And from off, you can activate 3 different settings. All right, let me demonstrate here. If you press and hold, you'll always get low. All right, you double click, you'll get turbo. Click to turn off. You triple click, you get strobe. So from just off alone, I can access low, the lowest level, turbo, and strobe. That's amazing. Just from off, everything from off. The 3 level that you likely will use most in different fields, you can access from off instantly. And with a click on you, with a quick click, you turn on the light, and every successive click you turn it off. So that makes turning the light on and off very quick, very tactical, right? Turn it on and then turn it off. However, if you want to go through the different levels, you press and hold while it's on. So you have 3 main constant brightness level. And a quick click turns it off. So 3 main constant brightness level. By turning the light on and press and hold, the light will turn on with the last mode memory. So let's say I was last on at high, and if I turn the light off, I'll turn it back on, it'll turn on at high. So that's pretty cool. Last mode memory, 3 different levels you can access from off. And the cool thing is, even during on, you can access turbo by double clicking, right? And you can, during on, you can also triple click to access strobe. So in a sense, you can access turbo and strobe from off or on, and you can access instant low from off. There's one thing that I think could have been improved, which is the lowest level. It puts out a wild guess of 100 lumen here. At least that's what it seems with the XHP50 shave dome. Let's see if it's any different with the XHP70. Yeah, they're both relatively the same, I think. The XHP50 actually seems a little brighter because of the more focused hotspot. Anyhow, so 100 lumen on the lowest level is a little high for most people. It's a good general purpose in the dark navigation without blowing your eyes vision at camp. But if you're in bed and your night vision is completely adapted, turning it on at 100 lumen might be a little too much, and that might disappoint some customers. So I have to point that out right away. So the user interface is ideal in my opinion, and look at the size difference. Even with a built-in micro USB port charging port at the rear to the tail cap, it still managed to be smaller than its competitor. It's relatively lighter, but heat sinks very well the way that the light is constructed. And because it heat sinks very well, it gets hot relatively fast also. And that's how we know we've really driven this light to the limit of its mass potential. So, all in all, it's a great user interface and great size and everything. I can't stress how much I like the XHP50 version and how much I want to recommend this version. It's just nothing, it's kind of in a class of its own. There's nothing that really, at this size, put out 2600 lumen and throw 45k lux, okay? With a UI this good, with such a high capacity cell, if you're running the 5200 milliamp hours, even with the included 4200 milliamp hour cell, it's not bad. So all in all, I think it's a perfect light. It's a perfect light to start out with for newbie. It's a perfect light to, because of the built-in micro USB charger. You don't have to get an external charger, and because of the user interface, I think it makes a great gift or a great first high-powered light. But for a lot of different tasks that I can think of, it's a great light. That's why I'm highly recommending this light, and it's definitely one of the most recent must-have that I have on my store. So from now on, if you get on my store, watch for that little R next to the title. If there's a little R, it's a must-have and it's highly recommended. All right, hope the review wasn't too long. I'm trying to keep my reviews shorter and shorter so that it gets right to the point, and for now on, I will try to present the light right away, go into the user interface so you know all that before I do the comparison with other lights and put my opinions into the light. Doesn't always work out that well because I don't have entirely great memory, so I have to speak what's on my mind right away. So you're just gonna have to bear with me, and I'll say things that I don't know that I'm saying. And it's just, I would like to put into the comments, but it's kind of hard. So the easiest way, if you run into questions and you're confused over what I'm saying or it doesn't make any sense, or if I said something wrong, send me an email, all right? I'll explain it, or put it in the comments. Other users that are more knowledgeable than I am will chime in and answer your question. But either way, send me an email. That way I'll get to your questions right away and I'll explain it more thoroughly if my video is not great. And sometimes it's not. All right, thank you very much for your time. Yes, highly, highly recommended.